This video is made for adult collectors because I bet 80% of you have never seen Beast Wars Neo. Same, I've only seen like half. This has to be the best set of dinosaurs I think they've ever made, like Hasbro. They feel solid, they look solid, and they are big. This Commander is probably the best one I've messed with, dethroning my favorite one, Armada Prime. It's so nice. The biggest thing for me is the plastic density. The feel of the materials is so pleasant. I'm starting in animal mode, because why not? But last time I talked about this toy, I horribly mispronounced what the green dude is. So for the sake of my sanity, I'm gonna just call him Green Dude. But these three look awesome together. That Giga is just... It's hard to describe without holding it yourself, but it's so satisfying to hold. The paint on all of these is pretty good. The gradient on both the Green Dude and the Quetzal are nice, but the Giga doesn't have that nice gradient to it, which I kind of wish it did, though it does have some nice white going on the back. And next to the other Neo bad guys, it looks sick. I'm so glad I got the rest of the crew. I just couldn't be bothered to transform the other two because they're so annoying. And comparing them to the original ones, yeah, I like the new ones a lot. It's a very good improvement over the original toys. They don't feel as rinky-dinky anymore. They feel solid as a rock. Now, these aren't static animal modes either. They can do a lot of posing. So these my camera's like slightly moving. These dinosaurs have an immense amount of posability on them, which is insane because they're a combiner. Granted, they don't have individual robot modes, which I think helps, but yeah, so we'll start with the bird dude. You got head, joint here, rotation, mouth can open and close. You have neck. This one's kind of stationary. I wish there was like one more joint in the middle, but then it would have made transformation a bit strange. The wings can flap up and down, forward and back, rotate. You can bend them in here. Now these are a softer plastic, so they do stick sometimes, and you gotta like listen. You can hear them like unstick. So that's a bit strange. You got ball joints at this wrist section. Then you have a ball joint at the hip. You have a hinge, and a hinge. So he's pretty nice, pretty posable. A lot more stable than the original, because my original just always wants to collapse. Then we have the green dude, who can swivel this fin. This fin can swivel and is on a ball joint. Nothing at the tail. But then you have swivel joints at each section and like mushroom cuts at each section as well. So you can pretty much get the neck however the hell you want. It's not SH Monster Arts level of posability, but seeing as this uses ABS plastic to make all of this work, I think ball joints would end up being really floppy because, well, actually the original's in robot mode, but it would flop quite a bit because of the ball joints. So I like this solution. You also have a joint at the front here, and then the mouth can open and close. But the coolest thing is probably the Giga. The Giga, first of all, this is probably the best looking dinosaur mode I think they've ever made. But also, it's so nice. There's a couple things that are weird. Two things with the head and one thing with the back. So the head can look up that far, but then obviously the neck gets disjointed. It can only look down like that far, which is all right. The mouth only opens about that far. You do get side to side. I wish we could rotate, but seeing as this is like a shoulder pad thing, I get it. You got ball joints at the arms. Now the legs. The legs can ratchet, but I want you to watch this section here when I start moving them. See how this comes apart? Yeah, this isn't the most stable connection in the world. This piece appears like it's supposed to tab into here, which it does. But then it just comes out all the time. Like it's tabbed in right now. And then if I start moving, oh, there it goes. It's come undone. So that bit of stability there is slightly annoying. It's not like it breaks the figure apart or it falls over. It's just, it comes undone. So you gotta like hold it here when you're posing it. But the legs being the robot legs, they can pretty much do whatever you want. You got ankle tilts, knees, hips. The tail can swivel as well. And this is purely for dinosaur mode. It would have been nice if there were more segments in here, but the sword does store in here, so they probably couldn't do that. But the Giga is like super cool, and he feels so solid. I love this thing. So that's the animals. They nailed them. Now they can also do this, just like the original one. Now let's just get onto that damn robot mode. So let's make him giant robot. We'll start with the Giga because he's the base of it. We're going to flip up his throat like that. Then we're going to remove the sword, and this part's difficult. Never mind, it's easy apparently. Usually I struggle to get the sword out because it's a softer plastic, so it's like sticks in there. That just came out. So then we're going to open this up, and then we're going to bring this section out from the middle here. There we go. Fold up the tail, fold this out. This becomes his sword. So you just fold everything up and collapse it. Now, when you're doing this part here in robot or 2 dinosaur mode, you have to like push this whole section down a little bit to flick these out because of how they're sculpted. So yeah, you're gonna have to do that. Then you just compress it together, knock over Ape Link, and then he bloody idiot fell over. And there you have the sword. Now we can do the rest of the fillet of fish here. You bring all this up, accordion this, we're gonna get the legs into position. Now, this part's difficult. You need to flip these sections out, but there's no easy way to do it, and it's ratcheted slightly, like it's detented. So you gotta really get your fingernail in there and just sort of like, pull. And sometimes it does hurt, so just be careful with that. And you fold out his heels, flip out his little toe claw things, like that, and that's pretty much the feet. I'm glad these are contained within the feet and not a separate piece that folds out of the back. Speaking of folding out the back, you bring this down, and then you bring this section down as well, peg it into place. So you just bring both segments down, peg them into place, and that gets the back of his legs done. And then we can just fold that down. Now, the torso. We're going to plug the arms in, and then we're going to fold out the hip skirts, like so. Bring this section up, rotate this 180 degrees, and then, well, we'll bring it down in a second. You want to bring this section out and up, and then this entire section will snap into place. Now, when you go to transform this back to dinosaur mode, do not turn this first. I've seen a lot of people be like, oh, the waist peg breaks. It's because you're doing it out of order. You have to do this first before you can rotate this, because this peg right here goes straight through here and into this to lock the whole thing in place. And if you spin this without doing that, you'll break this tab off. So you have to make sure you do that in the correct order. Then once you've done that, you bring this panel back down. You bring this chest section up, like so. Fold this down, and that's the Giga basically prepped. So we're gonna take the Quetzal, we're gonna fold this section down. This is basically just like the original, the Quetzal. So you just bring all of this, like, just orient it like so. I like to fold these up because it just gets them out of the way for everything. And then there is a peg in there that's gonna go into the hollow gaps of this guy. And then the feet will also peg in. So we'll just get this whole thing over and into place like that. And then the legs will go in. That's that done. We're gonna leave those up because now it's time to do Green Dude. So Green Dude, you just fold up the tail, fold this section up, and then rip it in half. Oy! Just like the original. This section, you're gonna fold this up, fold that back, and I like to bring these down and then flip out this connector piece that is the shield. Now we do the arms. You notice how they're on an angle sitting here? I like that. So bring these back, bring this section up, and fold this. Then you bring this out, slide it, and it's the wrong way. Collapse it, there we go. Bring out the hands, and when you bring out the arms, make sure that so you bring this out, make sure you unpeg it from here before rotating it. Because again, you don't want to break the tabs. It's not like they're brittle, it's just if you do it in the wrong order, you might snap something. Rotate the wrists, bring this up. Then these two sections here will peg into the shoulders, like so. All that will just sort of sit nice and snug. Then we bring Magmatron back in and basically just peg the shoulders into place. Now, once that's done, we take the neck and we're just going to orient the whole thing so that this pegs on to here. There we go. Make sure everything's nice and squished together. Fold down the earpieces, and that's Magmatron in his robot mode. I love doing that. That's so much fun. So that is similar to the original, but it's a lot more involved and way more satisfying to do, not gonna lie. The original on mine has trouble staying together now for some reason, but this one is, like I said before, solid. It also looks so intimidating, it's great. This really gives off the vibes he had in the show, which I've seen half of now. And I have like pretty much the entire crew, which is awesome. That's gonna be how I display it from now on. He's gonna get his own shelf. The colors work so well. The dark blue, the mushy peas, army green mix thing. It's kind of washed out. And the red with pink and the bits of gold standing out. It's just the right amount of gold to not be tacky. There is a lot of junk on the back though, which is not like the original, but this one sticks out quite a bit back there, and I know it does bug some people. Thankfully, he has some massive heels to help keep him standing. The plastic, again, feels so dense and weighty, and now, because he's 3 toys on top of one another, he weighs a lot more. He is also one of those toys you can pick up by the leg, and he isn't gonna like flop around because of the weight, because the ratchets are so strong, but also super satisfying. We'll touch on that more later. The head looks epic. It's attached to the wings, so it's a bit annoying to figure out how it all works, but once you mess with it more, it becomes not as annoying. That and the hip skirts being massive are like my only real gripes with the robot mode. He does have his sword and shield, even though they don't do the firing missile thing anymore. He also comes in with blast effects, so you can put them underneath the sword blade so it looks like they're firing, which I like. You also get 2 tiny like ear swords, which again, they don't fire, but still they work as swords, which is pretty cool. The main sword though is a really soft material. If it's warped, like it might come bent out of the box, leave it in the tail for a few days. That should straighten it out. I love the design of the legs. The way they sculpted the knees and the bits on the feet work so well to capture that beast aesthetic, coupled with the ornate crotch piece and the way his chest is done really reminds me of like those guard people from the Stargate film, kinda. The red claws on his chest still look strange to me as he doesn't have any animals with red claws, but they're still cool nonetheless. His posing is good, but a bit awkward at times. You have to really get to grips with how all the animal bits around him work, but once you do, you can make him look really nice. So Magmatron's articulation is pretty good for a commander. His waist is a bit weird though. So the head can rotate even though these are attached. So you bring them up and fold them out, and you can rotate the head, so it does swivel. So that's nice. And then the wings have the same sort of articulation as they did in Dinosaur mode, so like there's enough space to do anything. The shoulder pad can move up and down to accommodate the shoulders, which can go forward and back on ratchets, in and out. You have bicep rotation. You have double jointed elbows. You have wrist rotation. Hand can open and close. You also have that wrist joint for that dino orgy thing. The waist. So you want to lift these hip skirts up and then lift this panel at the back up, and then you have access to the waist. And if you want to, for transformation, you have that secondary joint. You can use it as an ab crunch. So there is that. The hips, they can ratchet forward. They can ratchet back. They can go in and out on friction hinges, but they're very solid friction hinges. You have thigh rotation, single jointed knee that bends all the way. Then the ankles, if you unpeg this, the ankles can go forward and they can't go back. They click into place. And then you have an ankle pivot. So he's very, very posable. You can do a lot with this thing. I adore it. It's so nice. It's so nice not to have a Magmatron that doesn't just stand there and be all wobbly. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that this is a really, really good and really, really solid figure, and I think it is very much worth that commander price. It's definitely my favorite commander to come out, and one of the most solid figures I've had recently. I know I said the word solid a lot in this video. Don't do a drinking game to that. But that's the best way I can describe it. This thing is so pleasant to mess with and to look at. But that's been my look at Legacy, almost said Legacy Evolution, Legacy United Magmatron. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.